Quantum objects are viscous. Complementarity means that when you nudge a quantum, it sticks to the nudging device so that you can't disentangle them. Rather than dissolving objects into nothingness, quantum theory makes them sticky. If you stretch this stickiness, how far would it go? This brings us to our next point. I'm using non-locality as a metaphor here. Right now, actual non-locality, quantum non-locality, can only be detected in very small objects such as photons and electrons, though some people have produced them in much larger scale objects such as a tiny tuning fork 30 microns long. That's a huge size from a photon's point of view, but it's pretty small from a human architectural point of view. And entanglement, what happens because of non-locality, has been observed in photosynthesizing molecules. The photon goes in and occupies several places simultaneously, and possibly in DNA. Quantum objects are massively distributed both in a conventional sense, yet still extraordinary sense, and in a highly unconventional sense. First, the roughly conventional. On Debray's view, for instance, a wave packet is a blob that contains something like a particle distributed in the wave packet across a range of locations according to probability. The wave packet may be imagined as a distributed across a vast area of space-time. Now consider non-locality. In ecosystems, things are contiguous and symbiotic. In non-locality, things directly are other things. A la Aspect, Einstein's student David Bohm, Anton Zeilinger and others have shown that the Einstein-Podolsky-Rosen paradox concerning quantum theory is an empirical fact. Einstein, Rosen and Podolsky argued that if quantum theory were telling us something true about the universe, then you would be able to entangle particles. You could send one particle and some information, that is, make it spin in a certain way, and the other would instantaneously appear to have received the same information. This works to an arbitrary distance. Arbitrary here means 2 yards, 2 miles, the other side of the galaxy. Zeilinger has demonstrated non-local phenomena using entangled particles on either side of Vienna, between 2 Canary Islands, and between orbiting satellites. To explain non-locality, you could abolish the speed of light, but this troubles physicists. Or you could say that there aren't really 2 particles. It sounds mad, but the other options are more so. They involve time travel and telepathy. Non-locality means something is profoundly wrong with atomism. Moreover, objects have blurred boundaries at scales considerably larger than we used to think. Photosynthesizing molecules in chloroplasts, the symbiotic bacteria that make plants green, put photons into coherence. When it enters the molecule, a photon occupies many positions at once. To those great Victorian period discoveries, then, evolution, capital, the unconscious, we must now add space-time, ecological interconnection, giving rise to global warming, for instance, and non-locality. These discoveries all share something, insofar as they humiliate the human, decisively decentering us from a place of pampered privilege in the scheme of things. Non-locality is perhaps the most drastic of all these, since it implies that the notion of being located at all is only epiphenomenal to a deeper, more atemporal implicate order. But I'm going to argue here that all the hyperobjects are kind of non-local. Stop the tape of evolution anywhere, and you won't see it. Stand under a rain cloud and it's not global warming you'll feel falling on your head. Cut your coat into 1,000 pieces, you won't find capital in there. Now try pointing to the unconscious. Did you catch it? Now try to point at a world tube. Same problem, right? Hyperobjects compel us to think ecologically and not the other way around. Ecological awareness is a product of hyperobjects. It's not as if some abstract environmental system made us think like this. Plutonium, global warming, pollution and so on gave rise to ecological thinking. When you feel raindrops falling on your head, you are experiencing climate in some sense. In particular, you are experiencing the climate change known as global warming, but you are never directly experiencing global warming as such. Nowhere in the long list of catastrophic weather events, which will increase as global warming takes off, will you find global warming. But global warming is as real as this sentence. Not only that, it's viscous. It never stops sticking to you, no matter where you move on planet Earth. How can we account for this? By arguing that global warming, like all hyperobjects, is non-local. It's massively distributed in time and space. What does this mean? It means that my experience of the weather in the hic et nunc is a false immediacy. It's never the case that those raindrops only fall on my head. They are always a manifestation of global warming. In an age of ecological emergency, in an age in which hyperobjects start to oppress us with their terrifying strangeness, we will have to get used to the fact that locality is always a false immediacy.